All right, we are about to dive into a simple, but honestly, life-changing idea that can totally transform how you work, learn, and even live. It's the secret to getting more done by, and you're gonna love this actually, doing less.
You ever feel like that? You're putting in all the hours, you're grinding away, but when you look at the results, they're just not there. You feel incredibly busy, but you don't feel productive. It is such a frustrating place to be, and trust me, you are not alone in feeling that way.
Let's take a look at a perfect example. Let's call her Anna, an English learner. She is doing everything she thinks she's supposed to do, hours and hours studying grammar rules. But the second she needs to actually speak, she freezes. All that massive effort isn't turning into real-world confidence. It's a classic case of this problem.
So, the solution to this whole dilemma? Well, it lies in a concept known as the 80-20 rule. It's an amazing way of thinking that helps you cut through all the noise and just focus on what's actually going to move the needle.
Okay, so the rule, which is also called the Pareto principle, is pretty simple when you break it down. It basically says that in almost any situation, the vast majority of your results, we're talking like 80%, come from a tiny fraction of your effort, maybe just 20%. It's all about this natural imbalance in the world.
And here you can just see it. Look at that difference. It's dramatic, right? That tiny little sliver of input is responsible for that huge bar of output. Now, this isn't about working less, not at all. It's about figuring out what's in that incredibly powerful 20% and putting your energy there.
This whole thing just reveals a fundamental truth. Not all effort is created equal. The secret isn't just to work more, it's to work smarter. It's about finding those few things that deliver almost all of the results and just zeroing in on them.
Okay, so let's bring this back to our English learner, Anna. How can she use this idea to stop feeling so overwhelmed and, finally start making some real progress?
Well, on one side, you have the old, ineffective way, right? Trying to master every single grammar rule, memorizing these endless lists of words you'll never use. But on the other side, you've got the 80-20 way, strategically focusing only on the most important, most common parts of the language.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, for language, it starts with this number. It turns out that if you just learn the 1,000 most common words, you can understand a staggering 80% of most everyday conversations. Just 1,000. Isn't that incredible?
So, this is that strategic shift in action. Instead of getting buried in grammar books, your focus is now on these high-impact activities. The goal isn't perfect mastery of every little rule. It's real communication, built on a foundation of core vocabulary and daily practice.
But this idea is so much bigger than just learning a language. Seriously, once you start looking for it, you will see it everywhere. The 80-20 rule isn't just a learning trick, it's pretty much a life hack.
Let's just look at three huge areas where this thing plays out: your personal productivity, the business world, and of course how you manage your most valuable resource, your time.
Okay, think about your to-do list on any given day. You might have 10 things on there. The 80-20 rule says that just 2 of those tasks will probably generate most of the real value for your entire day. The trick isn't just finding those 2 tasks, it's actually doing them first, instead of clearing out all the easy, low-impact stuff just to feel busy.
In business, oh man, this is a classic. Companies almost always find that something like 80% of their sales come from just 20% of their customers. So what do smart businesses do? They don't treat all their customers the same. They pour their energy into making that vital 20% incredibly happy.
And then there's time management. This is about separating being busy from being effective. Yeah, constantly checking your email or scrolling notifications makes you feel busy, but those things are almost never in your high-impact 20%. The real results, the big wins, they come from blocking off focus time for your most important projects.
So understanding the rule, that's the first step. But the real challenge and the real opportunity is to apply it. It means taking a really honest look at your own life and figuring out what your most valuable 20% is.
At the end of the day, this is the promise of the 80-20 mindset. It's a way to step off that hamster wheel of burnout and get onto a path of meaningful achievement. It's all about getting great results without feeling completely overwhelmed all the time. Who doesn't want that?
And let's be super clear here. This is not an excuse to be lazy. Not at all. It's actually a call to be incredibly strategic, to use your limited energy, time, and attention in the absolute smartest way possible to get the biggest impact.
And that really just leaves us with one final, powerful question to think about. Whether you're looking at your career, your studies, your health, your relationships, what is that vital 20% that's going to give you 80% of what you truly want? Finding that answer, well, that could change everything. Okay, let's talk about improving your English. I know, it can feel like this huge, overwhelming task, right? Well, what if I told you we could transform all that into a simple, powerful routine you can do in just 15 minutes a day? Seriously, let's dive in. So, let's be real for a second. Do you ever feel just stuck? You know, you're putting in the hours, you're studying the grammar, memorizing all these words, but then when it's actually time to speak, you just freeze. It's an incredibly common feeling, but here's the good news. The solution is way simpler than you probably think.
And here's the big secret. The core idea of this whole thing, it's not about how long you study, it's about how often you do it. Think about it. Cramming for an hour, just once a week, that doesn't really build a skill. But just 15 minutes every single day, that is where you're going to see real, lasting results. It's all about consistency, not intensity.
Okay, so here's the plan. First, we're going to talk about why this works. That's the consistency principle. Then we'll get practical with daily habits for listening, speaking, and building your vocabulary the smart way. We'll even cover reading and writing. And finally, we'll talk about the mindset that makes all of this actually stick.
All right, first up, the consistency principle. Let's dig into why these small steps are the absolute key to winning at English. This is the perfect way to think about it. Learning English is just like exercise. I mean, you can't go to the gym once a month, lift a massive weight, and expect to get strong, right? No way. You build strength by doing a little bit every single day. And guess what? Language works the exact same way.
Okay, let's get into our first actionable habit. It's all about your daily listening. Time to start training those ears.
Here's a super simple but really powerful exercise. Grab any short podcast or video. Step 1, just listen. Don't even worry about understanding every single word, just get the feel of it. Step 2, listen again, but this time with the subtitles on. This helps you connect the sounds you're hearing with the actual words. And finally, step 3, and this is crucial, pick a few lines and say them out loud. This is how you build that bridge between listening and speaking.
You know what? Let's try it right now. I'm going to say a sentence, and I want you to repeat it out loud. Seriously, wherever you are. Ready? Small, daily habits can make a big difference. Go on, say it. Awesome. See? Super simple. All right, we've trained our ears. Now let's move from passive listening to actively speaking. It's time for your daily speaking habit, and this is all about finding your voice, even when there's no one else around.
And you don't need a conversation partner for this. The first way is to just talk to yourself. Narrate what you're doing. As you're making breakfast, just say it. I am making coffee. I am pouring the milk. I know, it feels a little silly at first, but it's amazing for building fluency. The second way is to do a quick mini role play, for a common situation like ordering coffee.
So you can literally practice both sides of the conversation. First, you're the barista. Hello, what can I get for you? Then you're the customer. I'd like a cappuccino, please. This whole thing takes maybe 30 seconds, but it prepares you for those real-world moments and builds your confidence like crazy.
Okay, next up, let's talk about vocabulary, but in a smarter way. Forget about memorizing endless lists of words you're probably never going to use. It's time to talk about the 80-20 rule.
This whole idea comes from something called the Pareto principle, and it's pretty simple. In almost anything, you get 80% of your results from just 20% of your effort. Now, when it comes to learning English, this is a total game changer. It means you don't need to know every word in the dictionary to be fluent. You just need to know the right words.
So, the takeaway here is huge. If you focus your energy on that critical 20%, the most common, high-frequency words and phrases, you unlock 80% of your ability to communicate. It's the definition of working smarter, not harder.
So what does this actually look like? Well, here are 3 high-impact phrases you could learn literally today. Instead of a random word like ostentatious, learn something useful and flexible like these. This is that powerful 20% in action.
Okay, so you're learning these great new phrases, but how do you make them actually stick in your brain? That brings us to our next habit: read, write, and remember. This is how we close the loop. And this daily habit is so easy. It just starts with a tiny bit of input. It could be anything: a news headline, a post on social media, a line from a song. Just find one simple sentence in English. Now, here's the magic trick: the output. You take that sentence you just read and you rewrite it in your own words. This is so important because it forces your brain to actually process the information, not just passively scan it.
And that's how you get stuff to move from your short-term memory into your long-term memory for good. All right, finally, let's talk about what might be the most important piece of this entire puzzle, the motivation mindset. Because let's face it, none of these habits matter if you don't stick with them.
Think about this for a second. J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter was, well, Harry Potter, it was just a story that got rejected by publisher after publisher. I mean, again and again. But what did she do? Did she quit? Nope. She kept her daily habit. She kept writing.
And the lesson there is so powerful. It's this: consistency beats talent. Every single time. It doesn't matter if you think you're bad at languages. If you show up every day for just those 15 minutes, you will absolutely blow past the talented person who only shows up once in a while.
So let's pull it all together. Here's your daily English toolkit. You're going to listen every day. You're going to speak every day. You'll use that 80-20 rule to learn vocabulary that actually matters. You'll read and write to make it all stick. And the golden rule through all of it, you're going to be consistent.
And that brings us to the final and most important question. Look, this isn't about doing everything all at once. It's about starting with just one thing. So I want you to think about it. What is the one 15-minute habit that you are going to start today?